Hi everybody, welcome to Gracie Barra Tooting's ChatGBT. I am Professor Tom, and sitting to my right with our brand new microphone is
Professor Gabi. Hello.
Also known as Professor G in the house, as I say every week. So this week we thought we would do a short-ish, it's probably going to be short, but a podcast on wellness in Jiu Jitsu, training smart, protecting yourself, but also all the others members of this community we have here at Tooting. Only because over the last few days, a number of people, coaches, students have been sick, and also a number of students have suffered injuries as a result of body fatigue, that we thought it'd be really important to highlight the reasons why and what we can do to see it and act upon it, both for kids, parents, and for adults as well. So this is all for everybody. So if your kids are sick and unwell, some simple things to look for and to work on so that they can train safe.
Exactly. And let's start. Please, Tom, share with us any kind of story that you have related to this subject.
Training when sick. All right.
Yes.
So we had come out of the COVID black hole and gyms had opened up, and I was training after teaching sessions at the previous academy I used to teach at. And it became clear that there were a few on the mats who maybe had that inherent, COVID cough, that really dry cough that just wouldn't go away. So you trained. 2 days later, I got COVID. Oof. And that was me out of action. So the coach couldn't teach. And it later transpired that majority of the class who'd been on the mats that day then contracted COVID in the later stages, a couple of weeks later. And so basically it decimated people's training for up to a month, just for one or two individuals who chose to train for a variety of different reasons, which we'll chat on probably later. As to why.
Yes, so that's terrible. You come to the gym to have a good time, and then a couple of days later you end up sick and unable to keep practicing, and the annoyance, the inconvenience of having maybe to go to the hospital to check if everything is all right, or spending on medicines.
Medicines and time away from work, all those sorts of things, just because you were there at the same time as somebody else who wasn't or didn't take responsibility for themselves. Yeah. So that's my story. That's what we have on that. So we thought we would then discuss sort of why wellness in Jiu Jitsu matters, really, because if you're showing up, let's start with, rather than sickness, we'll start with sort of fatigue and fatigue management.
Yeah, normally that's a sign that your body might be trying to fight something off.
Yeah.
So pay attention to the level of fatigue and observe the other things as well. Have you been eating properly? Are you sleeping properly? Are you drinking enough water? Because all of these things, if you're not doing these things well, there is a chance your immune system is gonna get lower, drops, and that's when normally we get sick.
Yes. Sometimes we're in a position where we can't not do something. We have responsibilities in order to, I'm speaking from a business owner as well as a coach, and I'm doing my best in order to do both things well, but it takes quite a significant responsibility and toll on the body, and you are low and run down, and when there is a small cold that goes around the academy, it can hit you quite hard. So when you are feeling fatigued, when you are feeling that your body is tired and no amount of rest seems to combat that, that's your body telling you need to slow down, stop, give yourself a rest, break, relax, recover, recuperate, whatever recuperation, relaxation you do as part of your training and your living and your well-being, enact it then. Because if you don't, and you carry on pushing yourself through, that's when you're going to run the risk of injuring yourself significantly.
That's such a good point, because our body do give us some signs, some signals before it really something more serious happens.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people getting hurt before because they were not having a good day already. They were they didn't sleep the previous day, so they were not so paying so much attention to stuff. They were not so present. They were tired. And then during a technique, they would end up like doing the wrong technique or not being able to react how they should in the proper time and hurting themselves pretty bad.
Yeah, I've come from significant sleep issues, and when you suffer bouts of insomnia, one of the main things that goes first is your short-term memory and your attention. So if you're not remembering what you've just done, and then your mind starts to wander when you're in a live sparring situation, that can be it can be risky and dangerous for you and risky and dangerous for your partner. And if you haven't slept the night before, it probably isn't advisable for you then to throw yourself into a really intense training session or a training session at all, really. Keep yourself safe, you know. Rest that one session so you can protect the next 10. That comes from sleeping issues, it comes from if you're feeling a bit run down, it comes from if you're a bit fatigued. Just give yourself that one session rest. Your body maybe needs more than that, but then you can start to evaluate how you feel after that. And if you need to give yourself more time, give yourself more time. Jiu-Jitsu is always going to be here.
Exactly. Like if you take a couple of days out, you're just gonna lose some of the techniques, but we are gonna see them anyway because the curriculum is always like following a train of thought. So in a couple of weeks, you're gonna catch up, you know.
Yeah, and you can then still check in if you're in that fatigue position. We don't stop you coming into the session and watching, taking notes, being present in that regard. What we would draw the line on is if you are ill and you are contagious, because it's a close contact sport. We then want you to think not just about yourself, but also then about the rest of the teammates that also have not just training, but they have other lives outside of the academy which they need to be well for.
Yeah, I feel like in this case the most vulnerable people are the coaches, because like in one day we are probably gonna see and teach at least 50 different people. Yeah. Because we also teach the kids and all the teens and the adults. So we are in contact with a lot of people. So if one of us is sick and we stay like 2 days here teaching without knowing that we are contagious, we will probably contagiate at least 100 people.
We become
if everybody
super
gets
spreaders.
it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not great. Not great for operations. It's then not great for us because we wipe out the coaches, which then wipes out the students. Then we have a situation where the academy can't operate because it can't operate safely on the mat side because we haven't got anybody to teach jiu-jitsu and lifeguard what's going on. So I think really the takeaway is if you treat rest like a skill, then you build that skill up by learning and understanding why rest is so important to your body. So
how to rest in a bad way, right? Because there are multiple like articles, some research showing that when you spend hours on your phone thinking that you're resting, you're actually just putting your brain under such a big amount of information, of stimulus, that it goes and it ends up impacting how you're sleeping, you know, and other aspects of your life. So I thought it was very, very interesting. I need to find a synonymous for interesting, but I found it was cool that they were bringing this idea of not all rest is necessarily a good rest. You need to try to find a better way of resting, which is finding something that you can really relax with a low amount of stimulus, you know, for doing something that you do enjoy that causes you some type of happiness, but nothing that is gonna really take much of you cognitively and No,
that's why I find even sort of meditative breathing, or I've mentioned it previously about my little needle mat, that sort of stuff that relaxes your central nervous system and allows you then just your mind to wander and your body to recover and prep itself ready for what you're going to do the next day, rather than sitting on your phone having that blue screen time that just keeps battering your brain and the rest of your central nervous system with stimulants that then, like you say, impact your sleep. And also, go into caffeine drinks before bed, alcohol before bed, all this sort of stuff that then impacts your ability to recover while you sleep. I think, you need to be aware of what things you're putting into your body then have that impact on your ability to rest. Kind of going off topic, but it kind of is necessary to understand what rest is. That's why it's a skill. What is good rest? Not just sitting down and watching TV.
Yeah, I feel like it's very related to how you feel, because sometimes if I spend too much time on the phone, after I drop it, I just feel completely drained. And at the same time, I feel like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing with my time. I would have got more from this time if I was, I don't know, reading a book.
Yes.
I don't know, I was
Productive
writing
rest. Yeah.
postcards to my family in Brazil.
Am I being active or am I being productive? That's a nice little question to ask yourself.
That's a great question, the difference between one and the other.
Yeah. So if you're feeling that way, then you need to start to provide yourself a little self-check-in to find out how my sleep has been. How is my body feeling this morning? If I eat some food, is it going to make a difference? Can I do what I need to do, where my main responsibilities are as an individual throughout the day? Can I do all that stuff and then still be present for training in a way that then isn't going to be a risk to anybody else? And if you interrogate that question and you come back and go, I can get through my day of work, that's my main responsibility, but that is going to wipe me out. Don't push yourself then to come into training, because you run the risk, basically. You injure yourself, then that puts you out. Like we said, if you're resting yourself and protecting yourself for that one session, you're giving yourself the opportunity then to train for the next 10 sessions. Yeah. If you're feeling your body has run down, it may not even be such a serious thing. You could be just positioning yourself in an incorrect way and you're not focusing and somebody pops your rib. And that's you out of action for a period of time that you don't know how long, because everybody's rib recovery is very different. Yeah. So really, self-analyze, I think, is the important thing.
Yeah, awareness, because sometimes I tell this to the students. Jiu-Jitsu is a tool of self-awareness, like self-discovery, and we need to listen to our bodies. So if you really are feeling tired, do you think that having a 1 hour and 30 minutes practice is going to make you feel better? If you're already tired, what's the level of performance you will be able to deliver as well?
Yeah, are you doing yourself a disservice for your training? You might go through all that process and think, yeah, I can manage it. And you come out at the end of it and go, yeah, I've been to training, but I don't remember what I did. I've got no idea if I've improved. I don't know if I've injured anybody or not from what I've been doing. Have I been too aggressive? Have I been my normal self? Have I been in charge of my ego? Has it run me ragged to get what it wants rather than what I needed? Yeah. Definitely, self-awareness and self-checking is really important before you then decide to train. All these other sorts of things, if you're feeling run down, if you're feeling like you've got a cough, a chest cough, your lungs are heavy, your legs are heavy, you feel dizzy, these are all really quite significant warning signs to sort of tell you that maybe training isn't the right thing for you to do right now.
Exactly, and some other stuff like you're feeling dehydrated or you're having trouble with your stomach.
Yeah.
Any of these other things, maybe it's just a sign that you need some rest.
Yes, and I think we can then traverse to the parent side of it on this as well, is that if you recognise your kid is coughing and sneezing significantly and it's not hay fever season, or they don't suffer from hay fever, they might not be in themselves the best frame of mind to train. They may not be in a class where they're going to be in such close contact. It might be one of our smaller kids' classes, but they're then going to be in mats with maybe 5 up to 20 kids, and they could be spreading whatever little germs they have going around with everybody. And if we have other adults around in the vicinity who are also run down, that's how it then just keeps going. Just becomes cyclic, and then you're unable to sort of rid everybody, the academy, of this sort of flu that seems to go all the way through certain places. So I would advise just that.
And I think to observe your kids also in terms of their behavior. So sometimes you are not gonna be able to identify, to notice some physical symptoms that they might be going through.
Yes.
Or maybe they're gonna struggle to explain, to communicate.
Yep.
But if the kid is looking kind of down and feeling low energy, if they are too clingy,
yes,
or irritable, have in mind that like you're gonna bring them to the class might be full of other kids, it's gonna get loud, they might need to go like through some of the games and they might feel pressure or whatever, you know, the technique, so they're not gonna cope, I guess, with the whole thing of the class. It can end up putting them under some stress that they don't really need at the moment.
Yeah, we have seen that on occasions where kids become overwhelmed by 14 other children who are full of energy, running all over the place, and they themselves are in a quite low mood, low energy sort of place, and that overwhelm turns to tears and potential anxiety and other stresses, and they're not getting anything from the session. They're basically just here as a present being, but not plugging in and learning any of the techniques. I know there is situations where kids need to be put into that uncomfortable situation so they can overcome any sort of social anxieties they have, or work with those social anxieties so they can like become better versions of themselves. But if there are warning signs that they are in a place which is not high energy, then they might not be or won't benefit from the training that happens here at the academy.
I think you pointed out something very good, because like also logistically speaking, sometimes it's gonna be more draining to you to bring your kid when they're not alright and like manage their emotions than actually just allow them to be taking a nap at the house.
Yeah, I know there's sticking to the routine is important, but then if it becomes detrimental, then I don't think it's advisable. But you know, that comes from a point of view of a jiu-jitsu coach rather than from a parent.
Yes. None of us are parents.
No, we're not parents. I would advise when if your child is clearly showing signs of sickness, that they are not introduced into the academy, and you need to take responsibility for that as well, so that they don't not sick on the mats, which can be terrible for a child. They're not getting anything from it, but then also it doesn't spread to the wider community as well.
Yeah, I think that everybody needs to be a little bit flexible in this thing of like not being just so stuck to the idea of being consistent and constant. And also like from our perspective, if there is anything like your kid is not very well on that day, you can drop us a message, you can call, you know. And if you don't want your kids to lose any of the content, the information, we can give you some ideas on what kind of exercises to do with them at the house once they are better, like some small drills, you know, bridging, hipscaping, asking them the point systems, the names of techniques that they recover, that they regard, that they remember. That was the word, that they remember.
Rest today, stronger for the next class. I think that's a mantra to take away. So, if you are an adult and then you have suffered this fatigue, your body is tired, you have rested or you have been sick and you've come back from a sickness, there is quite a desire then to just go back to how it was before. I've made that mistake before. Coming up through the belts, it's okay. Yeah, I was training really, really well. I was training 3 to 4 times a week. I got sick, maybe because I was training 3 to 4 times a week and didn't really know about rest being a skill. And I think when I've got over whatever illness or fatigue I've got, then I'm like, right, back into 4 tough sessions a week, that's fine. And your body just isn't ready, it's just not recovered, it's just not acclimatized to that yet. So give it some time, you know, plan your sessions about what you need to do to ease yourself into it. And this is not coming like, okay, so I see the timetable, it's got GB1 and a GB2 session, I'm just going to concentrate on 4 GB1 sessions, because that's not the same. It's that you can come to a GB2 session, which is our intermediate session, and you can learn the positions and check in that, but that doesn't mean then you have to do all the specific training and the sparring afterwards. I'm not saying, I go to GB1 because it's going to be easier on my body. No, mate, more likely you're going to get injured in that situation because you're going to be trying to come back from an illness, an injury, fatigue, and you're going up against somebody who doesn't have the same types of skills as you because they're a white belt who's just started jiu-jitsu, and they are going to be still in the position of it being a fight for their life. So you are not going to be prepared for that. So I would prefer you as a coach and instructor to stick with the same classes you were with before and just tailor and taper your training to match how you feel in order to get back into the routine that you had previously.
Yeah, and like let us know, communicate how you're feeling.
Yeah.
You can make questions to us in case you're in doubt if you should practice or not.
Yeah, we are
going to give you your opinion. Of course, you are an adult and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it's recommended to listen people who are a little bit more experienced,
Who've been through the journey that you're currently on.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. We have people here who come back from serious injuries. They check in outside the mats, watch the situations, watch the positions. Then when they get comfortable, they get back onto the mats, but they don't train. They just do the positions. When they're more comfortable, then they get back into sort of specific sparring. And then when they are fully 100%, that's only then. And that could take a month or so after they've recovered from whatever they've recovered from in order to get back to that. And it's then about understanding how long this journey is. If you are off for a week and you're like, gee, I'm going to miss out on all this training, your journey is going to be 10 years long. That 1 week in the context is very small.
Yeah, it's not even 1%.
Yeah.
Like, it might be 0.0000000.
I'm not a mathematician, Gabi, so I can't know how many. So also, okay, we've done that fatigue. We've talked about illness. What are some of the other sort of hygiene cultures we want to establish here at the Academy? One of the big ones, obviously, is nails.
Always cutting short,
Yeah.
Always clean. So even if you don't want to have them super, super short like me or Professor Thomas, make sure that your nails are clean. Because if you scratch someone with your dirty nails, they are going to get an infection.
They are.
Infected cuts.
Always wash.
Yeah.
Always trim. Always, we know all that. Sanitizing before you're getting the mats, all this sort of stuff. But make sure your nails are clean. I don't have any. I do a very good job at biting mine due to stress. So.
Well, guys, I also think that regarding this hygiene topic, I would recommend you to look yourselves, Pay attention to your skin, pay attention to your feet, to your hands, because there are some skin infections, that they are very subtle. Like they start with a very subtle hash, very subtle signal, something that is different. So don't ignore that, because you might end up spreading some sort of skin infection to the whole team. And then it's a lot of people that are not going to be able to practice, then. And also one disease, one thing that might not be so bad for us can end up being very bad to someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, we here have a profile of different people. So you have people who are a little bit older, people that are very young, people who are struggling with some other diseases already,
autoimmune diseases, stuff like that.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So we don't know. We know of a few others. So people who don't have a great way of producing T cells in order to combat diseases and viruses.
Exactly. So there are some. That's something that also another thing that people doesn't pay a lot of attention is to their nails. So if you wear closed shoes the whole day, you can end up developing some fungal infections on your nails. So your nails, fung.
I like the Fugees.
No. Fung infections on your nails, so they're gonna get darker, they're gonna get maybe soft compared to the other ones.
Yep.
And a lot of people have that, but they don't know that is an infection, that there is treatment for it.
Yeah.
And then they are here, and then, they can spread.
Being aware of yourself. A lot of this comes back to that.
Yeah.
Being aware of
and
how
again,
your body is.
the clean with your uniform. Wash them properly.
Yes. So just to clear this up once again, Professor Gabi, if I come to training and I'm wearing my kimono, top and bottom, and my belt, and my rash guard, should I come to the next session the next day in the same uniform that is unwashed?
That's an absolutely not.
Right.
You need to get those clothes, you need to wash them all, wait them dry properly, and then you can use it again.
Yes.
And there's another point, I cannot stop telling you how important it is to come with the dry uniform.
Yep.
Because if you are wearing something that is already wet, it's going to mix with your own sweat, all of those other conditions, and you can end up getting some other kinds of infections.
Yeah, and this also applies to teenagers and parents of little kids as well. It's that we do recommend to wash the entire uniform after every session and dry before they rewear it. Just like you would do with any normal clothes for school or for gym training, whatever else. You wouldn't go to the gym and then put the same gym clothes back on to go to the next day. That's just,
Exactly.
yeah. So we have that. Kids' point of view, we have the gis, that's been addressed. And the same for the nail etiquette applies to kids as well. So they're not scratching other kids. Kids have a tendency to play in the mud, pick up sand, do whatever they need to do. So
walk barefoot everywhere.
Everywhere.
And then they put the they sanitize their feet, and then they walk on the mats, and there is like those
mud.
Yes.
Sanitized, mixed with mud from where they just wandered on. Yeah. So that's all the other thing as well, is we encourage people, we have them here, flip-flops and shoes they can wear to walk around the academy, but also we encourage people, adults and kids, to bring their own flip-flops, slides, whatever, to walk around the academy. Because you're walking on floors where people come in from outside and then walk into the changing rooms, and if you're walking barefoot over that, you don't know what's on the bottom of some people's feet.
Yeah, and I just get incredibly surprised that people has the courage to get into the bathroom barefoot.
Barefoot is a
I
big
cannot
problem.
comprehend why people do that. Like, it's just not.
This is not your house.
This is not hygienic. You know, you can get a lot of diseases walking barefoot in a bathroom.
Yes, and if you have any sort of cuts on your feet, you are running that risk of some serious infection that comes from that. Yeah. Also, parents as well. Verrucas, if there is any sort of foot infection that you know your child is carrying, we would advise to keep them away. If you only found out just before the session, I still would advise that they didn't train, but if they are wearing socks, I believe that's pretty helpful in order to stop the spread.
Yeah. And we have the case of one of our kids. They had something, but I didn't see it. So one of the parents flagged it to me, and then I spoke to the parents, spoke to the kid, you know, and now the kid is coming to practice and they're wearing socks.
Yes.
And we had that before. It's not the first kid that, like, because they had some sort of infection on their skin, on the feet or whatever, that they are doing the treatment with the creams and all, and they put the socks to prevent it from spreading.
An extra barrier to stop the spreading.
Yeah.
So, there are the things we recommend. However, there are still a few myths that need to be busted about why coming to training is going to get you through your fatigue or your sickness. So that first one, sweat it out. I'll get the sweat on. If I sweat really hard, this cold that I'm carrying is just going to sweat all over the mats.
All the times that I tried to sweat it out, I ended up getting much more sicker and like taking much more time to recover.
Yes.
Because like there was one time that I was not feeling well, then I came to practice. Not here, you know, ages ago, some years ago in Brazil. So I was like feeling maybe that was at the beginning of some cold. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna drink all the water that I can and I'm gonna practice. And that's gonna sweat it out. Yeah. Then on the next day, I felt like a truck has passed over me multiple times and I could not get out of bed.
It is a false
affirmation, yes.
Yeah. It doesn't work.
There is no science-based thing telling that, like, if you are at the beginning of some sort of disease, that if you really sweat it out, it's gonna make you less sick.
The same way we say, don't turn up with leeches if you've got something wrong with you. Bloodletting is also not a good idea. If you're not, don't bloodlet. And don't come here. I'm joking, by the way. We don't have that since medieval times. Yeah, yes. So it's the same sort of myth. You know, sweating out doesn't work. You'll just feel worse. You get dehydrated, and if you've got a cold, like we've been through everything else, you're fatigued. Your body's fighting an infection. It's not going to be then give you all the energy you need in order to focus on a really, really hard and intense role. You're going to run the risk of getting injured, and somebody else is going to run the risk of getting injured while training with you. So, sweating it out does not work. I'll lose my streak of training Okay.
Yeah, what is jiu-jitsu for you? Duolingo? Come on.
I like that. Is it Duolingo? Yeah.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu strictly. Yes.
We're here. Jiu-jitsu's open. It's going to be here next week when you recover.
Yeah.
It's still going to be here.
And
You're not going to
then,
miss out on anything. That's the sort of societal FOMO that you have.
and this strict doesn't equal progress.
No.
Yeah.
You can come to 6 sessions in a week. You know, that may not be progress. You may have had progress in the first 2, but after that your body has been so tired and battered that you haven't learned anything. You've actually regressed as a result of that. So you'll be fitter and healthier if you rest and come back stronger and learn more because you're more focused and you'll be more active. Check the ego. Really important. How about this one then? Kids need to toughen up.
I hate this idea.
What? I bought all these sticks to beat kids with for nothing.
I think that they know.
We don't do that, by the way, here.
Yeah,
So you know.
I feel like the kids, they can be toughened up without actually going through a lot of physical stress because they are sick.
They're sick. Let them be sick.
Yeah, just let them rest. Because also, if you constantly give this idea that, you need to be toughened up, you need to go over things, over challenge when you're not feeling 100%, you're just kind of conditioning your kid to always be operating in this idea of I need to be productive all the time, and
all the time.
I don't have the time to rest. I don't have, I always need to perform.
Yep.
It's not safe to tell my parents that I don't feel physically well to do this.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So in the long run, these kids will become adults who will probably go through a lot of burnout and unable to respect their own boundaries, their own body.
Yes.
So
Yeah. If your kids are sick, let them be sick. If you're a kid who has the ability to tell your responsible adults that you're unwell to do something, you let them know you're unwell to do it. Let them know you're unwell and you can't do it to the highest level that you want to be able to do it because you're sick.
we had one student that he came to practice, and he was here early, he was practicing, and then at the end I was like, "Are you alright?" I was like, yes, I'm alright. But then he didn't finish the class. Then later I spoke to a colleague, and the colleague said, "Man, he just had a fever. He was practicing with a fever."
Excellent.
If I knew that from the beginning, he would not be practicing.
No.
You know, because a fever, it's such a sensitive moment for your body, because it's basically your body trying to regulate their internal temperature.
Yeah.
And if you put your body to a lot of stress, especially your body's trying to cool you down, kind of, to make your temperature be stabilized, stable, and how it should be for humans. And then you're gonna come to practice. You're basically gonna accelerate your whole metabolism.
Yep.
You're gonna increase the body temperature, so it's just gonna be your body in a chaos, and it's very, very risky.
It is. We had another situation here which has personally affected me, in which a child was bought because they were told to be bought. It was a grandparent who bought their child, told by the mother and father that he goes to jiu-jitsu on that day. That's what he does. Regardless, he needs to do jiu-jitsu because he needs to get rid of all his energies and stuff. I would have rather he just ran around Tooting Common for an hour just to get rid of all his energy. But he came here and he was clearly very sick, and he spent the whole session coughing and spluttering. And after that session, I didn't see him for a week and a half. 2 days later, I got sick.
Exactly.
And that wiped me out. And when it wipes me out, then it has a negative impact on everybody else's experience here at the academy, because things can't get covered, sessions can't run, the academy can't operate as safely and 100% as I want it to. So yeah, there's a real impact on the ability of everybody to enjoy this experience if you're
I feel
just pushing your
because
kid.
we have a small team, if one of us is not alright, all the other two are gonna get overloaded.
Yeah.
And that's just risky, because we are doing some stuff that is risky, which is jiu-jitsu.
And if 2 go down,
Then
it is tricky.
Yeah.
Things will not happen, and things have not happened as a result of it. And we apologise for that, but we need to rest because we're sick.
And we don't control everything, so we always try our best. But
we can take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah, and
That's
the
all we
safety
can do.
comes first. So like we're not gonna run classes if it's not safe to do so.
Definitely not. So
Help us out.
help us out, basically. Yeah, run a little like traffic light system. If you're like no symptoms, normal energy, that's your green. You can train. You know, yellow. You know, mild, non-contagious. But I feel a bit fatigued. Maybe you turn up and you drill. You don't go 100%, or maybe you just listen to your body and go, maybe tomorrow. Let's see how we go after that. And then clearly red is, I can't get out of bed, I'm sick, or I need to do all those other things today and I'm sick. I'm not going to have anywhere near the energy I need to perform at my best training. So I'm just going to take responsibility and keep myself away. One of the things that we don't want to happen is for you to clearly turn up with your child, or as an adult turn up to the session and you be unwell or look incredibly fatigued, and for us to go, you can't train.
I have a good example. I had one of the students that she was not alright, like physically, so she asked if she could watch the class from the outside, and she had her notebook with her.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the class I said, now you need to tell the whole group, like the WhatsApp group, what was the technique of the day.
Yeah.
So it was a way of like integrating her,
including her in everything.
and like she felt like she learned, you know, that even though she didn't practice, she felt like it was worth coming.
That works for fatigue. If you're down or you're not in a low mood or energy and stuff like that, that's what we can do.
And
But
that's
if you're
also
sick,
a good
don't do
example.
it.
Sometimes the progression is not about like practicing the same
No.
thing 100 times.
No.
It's more like comprehending something, learning something
Exactly.
new.
Yeah. If you're here and you're injured and you're sat on the sidelines and you're taking notes, I still encourage you to ask questions, still be part of the class that's going on so we can answer that, because you still bring something. Clearly, like we're saying, if you're ill, we're not going to let you do that. You're sick, rest, let your body go.
And the same thing like is online. For example, if you're just recovering from an injury, you can come to the class, you can watch, you can take notes, you know.
Yeah.
If you want to start practicing, you know, let us know what happened to you, and we are gonna kind of guide you to what we think is the best way of restarting your journey, you know?
We've been there.
In a
We've
safe
done it.
way.
Yeah. We have to lead from the front as coaches as well. So we always take responsibility, because we know that if we turn up and train when we're feeling like this or we're sick, we run the risk of then potentially wiping out the academy, staff and community members for it. So we will always let the community know when we're sick and we can't run certain things here, because that way we lead from the front, establish that culture that says it's okay to be sick, it's okay to rest, it's okay to recover. And once you're recovering, you're more likely to give the best version of yourself in order to teach, to run the academy and to attend a session. So really the big takeaway for this is, you know, respect your body, protect the rest of the community, listen to yourself, have self-awareness, interrogate how you feel, take
Allow
responsibility.
yourself, you know, to rest, like look after yourself, take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you miss one session, you're protecting yourself for the next few. Jiu-Jitsu is always going to be here.
And it's gonna take something around 10 years to become a black belt. So
Exactly.
try
So,
not to
Try not to rush it. Enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
The destination's quite far away. Well, thank you very much, Professor G.
Thank you, Professor T.
That's our ending to our podcast on wellness and our expectations for our community members here at the Academy. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you very soon.
Exactly. And remember that if you have any questions, any comments, we are here to have further discussions in case there is something that you would like to have another deep dive.
Yeah.
We are here for you.
We have another listener episode coming up soon. Thank you now. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Gracie Barra Tooting's ChatGBT. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please like and subscribe for future episodes. See you soon.